Welcome back to Headliners. It's your first look at Saturday's newspapers. We're going to begin this section with news that some Italian kids are getting out of doing their homework. That can't be fair, can it, Nick?
Yeah, well, this is one way. It's backlash as Muslim children in Italy exempted from studying Dante. So the problem comes because he refers to Muhammad and his cousin Ali being in hell. He said, "How is Muhammad mangled? Before me walks Ali weeping, from the chin his face cleft to the forelock." So the thing is, the Muslims don't want to read this. Now, you could make an argument that they could just read it as literature or just without agreeing with it. You know, Jesus isn't treated that well at times in the Bible. We can still read it. It doesn't mean we are endorsing what happens. So
yes.
In my book, they could read it, but
well, it is literature.
Not in their book.
Of course they should read the foundational poetry of the Italian culture.
You would think so, but no. And it's similar to the Michaela School controversy about the prayers in this country.
Yes.
Should Muslims be exempted from the rules about not following any religion in that school, the secular rules they have? Very similar. One thing I really noted, though, was that in Italy, things are a little bit different to the tone in this country, because the centre-left party, Azione, which means action, and I didn't pronounce it well, talked about this. They said, this is not tolerance nor integration. It is the suicide of the West. Can you imagine the centre-left in this country talking like that? So everyone, all sides in Italy have been vehemently against it, saying, of course you should study Dante. I mean, they really like Dante there, but...
Well, as they should, but I mean, this is the point, is that if you start saying that we should exempt certain individuals from studying important classic works of literature, where does that end? You'll have Jewish students saying they won't study Merchant of Venice. You'll have, as they said at Michaela School, as Catherine Berbelsing pointed out, you'll have Jehovah's Witnesses saying, because they've complained, saying they don't want to study Macbeth because of the witches and they don't support the occult. You know, actually, you've got to just get over... You know, this is why I think maybe secularism in schools is kind of important. What do you think?
Oh, this is the kind of story that really bothers me, because it's an example of people thinking they deserve extra rights because they're religious.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, firstly, it's fiction as well. This is not like an act. You don't even have to look at an actual thing. You're reading a thought that someone wrote down and made up. Then again, religions are kind of based on fiction, so that's a weak point that I've got there.
Oof, blimey. You're going to wind Nick up right now, Steve.
I thought that...
classic atheist talking points from about 1960, whatever.
Exactly the same, I don't have thoughts from 1960. I wasn't around then, but these are the ones that I have now. No, but it's the same argument that people had about banning the life of Brian. You don't have special... You're not precious because someone's offended your religion, and yet the people who were saying you shouldn't ban the life of Brian should also be saying, just read this book.
Well, also Dante, you know, Dante puts his mates into hell, the ones that annoyed him in his lifetime. He gets back at them by putting them in hell, being tortured in all sorts of ways. You know,
he was mates with Muhammad, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. And also, actually, anyone who's non-Christian is in hell. Even some of the great...
I'm glad you've admitted that.
From pagan antiquity are in hell.
Because you mean in the poem?
In the poem, they're in the... You get people like Homer and Aristotle and Cicero in the first circle of hell, which is like the nicest bit of hell, because although they are really good people, they were unfortunately born before Christ, so they couldn't have been baptised, so they have to be in hell.
That can't be the argument to win the argument, though. Do you know what I mean?
Why not?
It's like, but don't worry, he puts other people in hell too.
Does.
No, you should be reading it because you shouldn't stop reading it just because it mentions your religion.
Can I counter Steve's sort of horrific, sort of anti-Christian sentiment? I personally don't believe we should be secular. I believe England and Britain are Christian countries, so it's okay. The king is the head of the Church of England. It's okay to be Christian, and in Muslim countries, it's okay to promote those values. I don't think everything should have to be secular. That's my.
I'm just saying you don't get special rights for it, though. You
do in this country. Christianity should have special rights because it's a Christian country.
No, but
and in Saudi Arabia, Islam should have special rights.
Okay, but by that logic, should we be able to say, well, Christians should be able to object to important literary texts on the basis of their faith?
Yes.
And not study them? Well, that makes you a Philistine.
Yes,
no, it doesn't. It makes me want a theocracy.